Welcome, welcome to Freaked Out with your psychic medium host, Liz. That is me. Today, guys, we are going to be covering the Jennifer Kesse case. I know one of my friends, Jackie, has wanted me to do a full deep dive into this case. I did cover it once in the past. We're going to talk about that a little later on in the video, but OMG, guys, I was actually at the place and everything, but we'll give you the details. And I'll actually put the video in this video so that you guys can reference it as well on what happened the day I went to go see if I could find Jennifer Kesse. I did want to let you guys know that we will be announcing the next episode at the end of this video, so please watch all the way to the end if you're interested. So let's talk about my feels on Jennifer Kesse. I don't believe that she just vanished into thin air. I believe that she was silenced because she saw something, she said something, someone made sure that she would never say anything again. And if I'm going to be honest, I feel like this case was truly, genuinely never investigated. I feel like it was minimized. I feel like it was mishandled. It was definitely ignored. But I'm not ignoring it, and that is why I decided to make it into a bigger video. Now let's go over the details of the case and the timeline of what happened. Now, Jennifer Kesse was only 24 years old at the time of her disappearance. She was super bright, she was grounded, independent. She had a pretty solid job with a timeshare company. She had a long-term boyfriend who was not living where she lived at the time, and she had just bought a condo in Orlando, Florida. She disappeared January 24th, 2006. She has almost been gone for 20 years. Now, that morning, she did not show up for work. No phone calls, no texts, no nothing, and obviously very uncommon for her. Her family knew instantly something was wrong because this was very unlike her. Her car was actually found 2 days later, abandoned at an apartment complex, and that was about a mile away from where she lived. Entering in her condo, there showed a lot of signs that she was preparing to get ready for work. The clothes from the night before were on the floor. The bed was made, makeup was out. Her phone, purse, keys, and wallet were never found. And then there was some interesting surveillance footage. A person of interest was seen parking Jennifer Kesse's vehicle and basically walking away. But this person's face was completely obscured by fence bars in each frame. Great. And the feels I get, they knew this. And just like that, her trail vanished. Now, I do want to mention that Jennifer was not somebody who was reckless. She was cautious and smart. She was the kind of woman who made copies of her travel itineraries. She locked her doors. She texted her people when she got home. She had no history of drug use, no unstable relationships, no enemies. She was in love. She had a very strong family connection, and she was planning her future like most 24-year-olds would be at that point. And that's what makes this even more disturbing because she did not run. She was taken. Now we're going to talk about primary suspects in this case. Number one is the construction workers at her condo. Now, Jennifer had been repeatedly complaining to her family that the construction workers were making her very uncomfortable, whistling at her, catcalling, and just staring at her when she would leave and come back to her apartment, at her condo, which made her incredibly uncomfortable. Now, this particular complex was still under renovations, and many of these laborers were undocumented, which I wouldn't put out there unless I didn't think it was important. All these people that were getting paid weren't necessarily getting paid with pay stubs. They were getting paid under the table. Now, there were many empty, unsupervised units, perfect for hiding someone or dragging someone inside. Then there was suspect number two, which was her ex-boyfriend or past suitors. Now, there were rumors going around of an ex or a former coworker who had been infatuated with her. Police had allegedly interviewed someone who was very hostile while being questioned, but no charges were filed. I did want to point out here, I don't believe it was anyone associated with her work. And I can understand it when somebody reacts to something in an interview does not mean that they're bad, or it sometimes means that, but it isn't always the case. If you're being accused of something, you know how interrogations go. They don't ask you questions, they tell you what happened. Of course, you're going to freak out a bit. But I do not believe that this particular person who was interested in her was, in fact, the person that caused her to disappear. And then there was her current boyfriend, Rob. Now, he lived hours away. The two did have an argument before she had vanished the night before, but he was someone who passed the polygraph test, and he was ruled out because he couldn't be in two places at once. But some still speculate that, hey, maybe their fight got a little bit too much and, well, he came down and took care of business. I don't believe that at all. I don't see that at all. Now let's talk about the fenced man a little bit. No one was able to identify him. Law enforcement was never able to identify him, not even with facial recognition. He was dressed very casually, walked away calmly, seemed like he knew the area. And then, of course, people speculate law enforcement. Now, they don't necessarily think law enforcement had anything to do with it, but if they had actually gone and done their job, then perhaps maybe none of this would have got to this point. The Orlando PD did not treat her disappearance as a crime until days later. That is the problem with this stuff. I get it. You don't want to spend hours and money on things, but we should take everything seriously. Evidence at her condo was minimal, unfortunately. No fingerprints, no luminol, nothing preserved. Her family eventually sued for access to her records 10 years later, so in 2016 approximately, and received a box of disorganized files and useless paperwork. I would be livid. All right, now let's talk about my views on this case. When it comes to the construction workers, they were not vetted, they were not named or polygraphed for many different reasons. But I believe that absolutely needed to happen. I definitely believe that this person, okay, so this is my vibe. I am seeing that not only were there undocumented, amazing workers, but there was also a couple of people that weren't necessarily on the right track in life. I feel like there were two men that I keep picking up on. One man being someone who is a little bit more responsible than the other one, but one is like much younger and the other one is a little bit older. I would say at the time in their 30s, and at the time the second one was in their 20s. From what I gather, although a lot of the construction workers that were hitting on her and whistling at her made her uncomfortable, majority of them were not involved in this. But there was one man that was not stopping. I see that he was trying to hit on her. It got even worse this particular week. I am seeing leading up to this situation, and I don't necessarily feel like she wanted to talk about it. I see that she did talk about it a little bit with her family, but she just didn't want to talk about a specific situation at that moment. She was planning on sharing details with her family, but I see that she never got to do it because she was exhausted the night before. Even the fight with her boyfriend, she was just not in a good headspace. So she was going to share the details of what had taken place previously. I see that the day before she went missing, I feel like one of them were extremely inappropriate with her, like grabbing her inappropriately, maybe touching her butt. I see that she put up her hands and was like, "Excuse me, this is not okay. Don't ever touch me again. Leave me alone." Like, she told him off. She said she was going to call the cops. She was like, "I'm done with you." I do believe that that same guy was not getting no. He was not interested in the word no. And I also feel, as I have gone into this case a little bit more, I do believe that she saw him doing something rather illegal and she was going to report it. May she have said or threatened him previously to this? Yes. The day that he inappropriately grabbed her, I feel like she had witnessed something that was happening in one of the units. Something like maybe doing some sort of illegal drugs, something. It was pretty bad, and it wasn't just one person. These people were extremely paranoid that she was going to do something like rat them out. And although she was going to do it, she wasn't going to do it in that moment. I don't know how the exchange happened. I think the paranoia, the drug use, whatever the case may be, but I am seeing something along those lines. The next day, I believe that she was leaving to go to work. And I feel like this guy was trying to come and apologize to her, but I believe that was fake. Like, I don't feel like it was a genuine, remorseful apology. I think he was trying to like talk her off of a ledge to sharing what she saw, and also the inappropriate touches that he had done to her previously. Jennifer also shared this with me, which she just shared right now, and that's crazy. Not only were there drug related things going on in this room, but she got a glimpse of something even more. A woman who was being held there against her will. Could this have been somebody that lived in the building? Yes. Could this woman have helped this case along? Yes. Was she alive after Jennifer went missing? Yes, but she was also heavily under the influence of drugs. I believe that these men, she knew that she was a victim in this, but because of what happened to her, she like A, moved out of the area, B, got away from this. She was an addict. I feel like she was trying to get some free drugs, and that's when they decided to take things to the next level and rape her. Like a few of them rape her, including this said guy, which we're going to call him Fence Guy, because I feel like he was the main person that did all of this. I feel like he is definitely Spanish. I do believe he was undocumented, and I also believe that he may have been getting deported. I keep seeing something with him being deported. It could possibly been after the fact, or he may have received something saying he had to leave the country. I'm not exactly sure, but I see there was some sort of indiscretion with documentation for him specifically, not the others involved, which in total I'm seeing 5. Anyways, back to seeing Jennifer. She didn't share that she had seen what had happened with the woman, but she definitely had seen what had happened with the drugs. And I'm also being told, oh my goodness, this woman, she didn't see this woman until like the next day. It wasn't the day that he had touched her bum or had tried to hit on her. This was like the following day, I guess, because they were still partying in this particular unit. And she just so happened to be leaving to go to work when all of this happened. And this guy was not about to let that happen. Although he was hitting on her and was doing some pretty inappropriate things to her, and she kept saying no, it wasn't the only reason. There was much more going on. And I keep seeing that this woman was Spanish as well. Um, I think she's clean now. I feel like she's not even in Florida anymore. But girl, if you're ever watching this, come forward, share your details, because I think she has some information like addresses of where these men may have gone to. Now, with saying that, I do see that when she was taken, she was hit over the head by her car, like she might have had her head hit off of a vehicle. I see her being unconscious. I don't feel like they took her into any units and did anything to her, but I see that they took her elsewhere. I'd say that he was following her to kind of make sure she stayed silent. And then when she wasn't agreeing to it, that's when he decided to take advantage of the situation. I believe that he put her in the trunk of the vehicle and carried on. I do see that she was unconscious when he took her, but not dead. When he put her in the car, I also feel like there was another man who was kind of following closely, but not completely. He might have been in a bit of a distance. He might have seen what was going on. And the two of them together decided to go and take her elsewhere. They didn't know where to take her, so they took her home. Now I am seeing a home. You will see in and around the area of where I believe her to be, but basically fairly close by her condo there is another area that isn't necessarily very nice. There's a lot of um the roads are not taken care of. It's just a very bad area. Like when we were there, I just felt so much crime in this area. And I mean, anyone who goes to this area at a certain days and times, I would be very careful. This area in Orlando was I just felt a lot of death and a lot of criminal activity. Anyways, carrying on, I don't believe that she was unalived right away. I see that they held her hostage in a basement for quite some time, maybe about a month. And I see that there were many people that lived in this house. Was this his house? No, but he was living with others. I'd say there were like 8 or 9 people that were living in this house, and she was locked up in the basement. I do feel like she had handcuffs. She might have had one handcuffed and the other one not, so that she can eat and toilet herself. And these men would come in and hurt her. I also do believe that they did drug her at times. I even see a child whom, I mean, this was 20 years ago. This child is an adult now. And I still believe that this child is here. They are not here illegally. This is now an adult. So if you remember this from your childhood, you were about 6 at the time, 6 or 7, come forward and share these details, because this woman is Jennifer Kesse. Anyways, this kid would feed her. She would try to convince him to help her get out. And then eventually the kid stopped coming downstairs. He got in trouble for whatever reason. There were many people upstairs who knew that she was in the basement. And as time progressed, I do feel like she got really close to escaping. And then that was that. Because the case was starting to get some traction, they were worried. And they decided to take her to this water, which I will show you in the video that I made. And that is where I believe her body is. Why weren't the construction workers vetted or polygraphed or anything? Because they didn't have any information. I keep seeing whoever had hired these guys was like a billionaire, and he was just paying people like under the table to avoid taxes, to avoid that. And I believe that this person who owned this construction company was refusing to give any information, number one. And number two, they didn't have any documentation. So for them, it was like, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no one undocumented here. And I feel like because of this person's status, shocker, they decided to not do anything else surrounding trying to get any of these people caught, in a sense. They never even searched these units. And also, they didn't bring in cadaver dogs to check it out as well. I think that that would have been very helpful, considering they may have found some blood, especially to the other girl. And I keep seeing Maria as her name. And I feel like Maria was definitely somebody who they could have definitely identified as well. Like I see that her blood is in the system for some reason. Now, why did the police say she probably left willingly while her phone, wallet, keys, and everything was missing? Because they didn't want to deal with it. In their mind, they go into everything like, at least this particular police department and 20 years ago, they would go into it being like, oh, she ran away. She ran away from herself. Like, it doesn't make any sense. These police were not interested in working this case. They were not interested in making it a big deal. I don't know about you, But I know for me, I love true crime stuff. And if anything happened to somebody, I would be right in there trying to figure out every single detail possible. And that is what you should do as a police officer. You are there to serve and protect, no? How did the surveillance camera perfectly miss this? If I'm going to be honest, I feel like there are other pieces of this footage. Maybe not in that specific frame, but I feel like there are other pieces of footage that they just decided to, not pay attention to so much. And it's almost like they're trying to hide him, you know what I mean? But I keep seeing there was very lazy work. They could have, I'm seeing that the images that they found, they had spent like a couple of hours looking into this, but they should have been looking over like a 48-hour span. And I believe they would have got more information as well. So again, sloppy, lazy. Was their DNA recovered from her vehicle? That is a good question. I don't understand how they missed DNA because I feel like that vehicle was a big piece of this case. I see that she was in the trunk. I feel like her DNA would have been in there. I think that these guys, although they cleaned up the units, they cleaned up the vehicle a little bit, there wasn't much that they did. And I feel like it went completely missed. And of course, missed out on fixing and figuring out where she went. I also believe his DNA was in this vehicle as well. And that also was not found. It is unbelievable how much they did not do in this case. It really pisses me off. Now, she shows me she was in the hallway walking. She wanted this guy to leave her alone. Just leave me alone. Leave me alone. That's all she thought about. And she was walking quickly. A struggle, wrists restrained. She was very smart and she tried her absolute hardest to get away from these people. And she also told me that she wasn't running. Like, even when she tried to escape, she was trying to escape in a sense of like making sure that justice was served. She was fighting. She fought like hell. I believe that the police are now going to start doing something. I feel like because of all the sloppy work, and now a lot of these police officers have moved on since, I feel like they owe it to her family to figure this out. The water that I believe she is in, I am not the only person that feels that she is in that body of water. And I believe that the police need to start taking it seriously, empty out this water, because not only will I feel like they will find her, but they might find other people. Because these people are not like just killing people randomly. I feel like they have killed many people and threw them in this water. And the Kesse family has come out there publicly against the police, saying that they screwed this up. They stonewalled, refusing tips, losing evidence, and they did. They did all of those things because they didn't care. I don't feel like they were part of it, but I believe that the millionaire, whoever this person was able to pay them off a bit in the sense of like, hey, you let this go, you don't worry about this, and I won't worry about it. Now, when it comes to the people that took her and killed her, I feel like one of them is no longer in the US. I feel like they are in Mexico, have been there a while, and also killing other people, might I add. Still very involved in the drug ring, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, gun trafficking. Like, there's a lot. This guy is a very bad man, which is also another reason no one came forward to share anything, because people know who he is, but they do not want to be in his path or the wrath of him. He is a scary motherfucker. A lot of people think that Jennifer might have been sold in trafficking. And although that could have been an initial plan, but Jennifer was not someone to just sit there and be like, yeah, no problem, just do whatever. No, she fought the shit out of these people. Like, she fought them. She said things. She was very harsh with them. They would hit her and punch her, and she'd say things like, is that all you got in you? Like, she was a badass. And I applaud her for everything she's done, because she prevented herself from going into the trafficking ring elsewhere. She could have very well been sold off. Now, after this situation happened, did these construction workers stop working for this company? Hell yeah, they did, because they needed to get out of there fast. Dude found another job, doing another construction job, until he ended up getting his ass deported. They're like, this person, we should probably investigate them, because there is many illegal things going on there as well. But anyways, I'm going to show you the video now of what I had seen when it comes to Jennifer Kesse's case. And it's about a 10-minute video. I did this a few years ago, a little nervous doing it, but I'll show you what I found and then we'll come back here.
What a wild story. Last week, Landon and I were driving through on our travel trailer and we came across this particular area. And I felt something pretty intense take place. I felt this girl and she was screaming, "Help me, help me, help me." And I was like, oh my God, I've got to figure out what's going on and who this is. Went home, did some research, and I found out that Jennifer Kesse used to live in that condo across the street from where I'm standing right now. I figured that this was as good of a time as any other time to take a look and see what I can figure out. We are going to follow the steps. While standing here, I can pick up pretty significantly that she did not leave this home on her own. What I feel is that there was a man by a name of Romeo, perhaps a last name of Ramirez or something in that family. He had approached her, and I think that he was rejected by her. As we're standing here, by the way, somebody went into labor. What I see is that he had been very aggressive towards her, and she told him no. Now, I don't believe he spoke English as his first language. In fact, I don't even believe that he had a visa to be here. I honestly believe that he was working under the table. Perhaps maybe even using a relative's identification. Obviously, he was disgruntled, but I see that he was stalking her. And when I mean stalking her, following her to work, following her to her condo, watching her every move. It seems like she was afraid, so she was just trying to maneuver her way away from him. Guys, if you are ever in a situation where somebody treats you badly or hurts you or do something, tell somebody. Even if you feel prideful not to say something, just tell one person. I don't feel like she shared this information with anyone, even her friends or her family. Now, what I do see is the morning of her disappearance, she did not even make it out of here before she was abducted. I see that he was waiting behind her vehicle. When it comes to your girl Jennifer, she did not stop fighting. She shows me that she fought him hard. He was trying to pin her down and she was kicking him, and I think she even got him in the face. She scratched him up. There was a full-on fight. I feel like there was another person in the parking lot at the time that this took place. Maybe they didn't see anything, but I feel like Jennifer was trying to call out to them. Perhaps maybe an older woman. He knocked her, and I think it was something to knock her unconscious. I do see that she was dragged into her own vehicle. I'm gonna say in the trunk is the image I'm seeing. From what Landon was telling me just now, he just informed me that it's possible that she was hit, and it's definitely possible because she's showing me that in that moment when she was hit, maybe he got in the front of her car and hit her. But all I know is that she was knocked unconscious and thrown in the back of her trunk. The next thing I feel is that he zoomed out of here. And he made a right-hand turn. So we're gonna go to where I think she was next. As we're driving through, I feel like a lot of this area is fairly new since she went missing in 2006. So it's going to be a little harder to determine, but she shows me that there was like a small area, perhaps maybe a park or an abandoned park or something along those lines where he was able to do a transfer. And then see that he put her in his own trunk. And I do feel like he taped her arms and legs and then proceeded off to the next area, which I believe is a residential home. And I see that there's a lot of family members living in this home. feel like it's pretty run down, which is shocking considering this particular area is a very beautiful location. So we are outside of the Jared, which I believe they turned on this street here, which is Millennial Boulevard, and that's the direction they went in. But this was only where the exchange was. From what I gather, she was then taken to the home, and I believe she was alive for a long while. That is when they started to panic. I do feel like his cousin also knows something. I feel like a few people in that household know things. And I see that he ended up burying her. By a waterside? No, I don't. She keeps showing me sand and water. I'm gonna try to see if we can find this place. So we are traveling in an area now that I believe that she may have been held captive. There's like a lot of crime here. It looks like there's not like a lot of upkeep on the location. So this person had her there, and then I'm gonna say that this is where they ended up taking her, which it's nerve-wracking to be over here because I can sense a lot of things, like a lot of shady things going on right now. God. Sometimes I can feel the steps of their passing, and it is extremely intense. It's almost like going through yourself. As we get closer, I feel sicker and sicker and sicker as we're doing this. Like, holy hell. There's a church here, Cross Point, something she recognizes. How do people do this shit? Like, how do you just take a life because you're pissed off? All right, guys. This is where I feel like she was taken, and it's just a boat launch. We're gonna go take a little walk. There's a sign for alligators and snakes here. I'm just feeling like maybe they tried to bury her and then it didn't work because somebody may have stumbled upon it, or she may have been revealed. I'm thinking this is where they brought her. It's easily accessible to go into the water. Very secluded over here. He could have just taken her because it's got alligators and just said, hey, you know what? Oh, God. I feel sick. Like, she's just, bored. This area is extremely intense for me. I'm not going to share the details of what took place here. I will on my podcast at a later date. But for now, this is what I feel.
We're right here, and this is the whole lake.
Wow. So it's a huge lake. Damn.
This is where we are, right here. This would take months to go through diving.
I do not feel as though this Romeo guy is here anymore. I feel like he was deported. He made a lot of problems. He was not a quiet person.
Okay, now that you guys have seen the video that I added, you can see where I think she was, and I hope that people figure it out and find her, because I can only do so much on my end. When I try to channel Jennifer, I can share that she is in a good place. She's not stuck or unhappy or anything. She just wants this solved. And from what I can see, we're getting closer and closer by the day. I believe something's going to happen with the water. I believe we're in 2025 now. I'd say by 2028, I think something will be done, said, something. We're going to have something that brings us back to Jennifer. I don't necessarily think we're going to get the guys that did it, but I do feel like we're going to at least be able to discover where she ended up going. And I do feel like somebody will get the blame. Maybe somebody will get sued for something. Who knows? Maybe the construction owner, the construction company owner. And there are other pieces of video. I don't think that they exist anymore, unfortunately, but there are. But, anyways, guys, that is everything for today's case in relation to Jennifer Kesse. Now, what case will we be covering next? I am planning to cover the son of Sam. I haven't even touched this. I don't know much about it, but it's something I'm hella interested in, and we're going to cover it here too. So until next time, guys, stay freaked out.